I wanted to do this one last week because of the Jurassic World movie coming out so that I could have the algorithm synergy, but I forgot. Honestly though, who cares at this point? There was one good Jurassic Park movie 30 years ago. Everything since then has been trash. Even when I was a kid and I could enjoy the third movie because the Spinosaurus was really cool, I was still like, wow, this isn't even half as good as the first one. You had the first trilogy of Jurassic Park movies, 2 of which sucked, then you have the sequel trilogy that started 20-something odd years later, and all of them just make the worst of the original 3 look like masterpieces. Everyone keeps trying to replicate Marvel's success, but for some reason they forget the key ingredient to that. And that key ingredient is that only a small handful of Marvel movies suck, like Winter Soldier, Fight Me. And not all of their movies suck. How can none of these Marvel ripoffs make even one tolerable movie? And yes, Winter Soldier is one of the worst, dumbest movies I've ever seen, and it baffles me how no one notices just how insanely stupid it is. It's one of the most predictable movies of all time. If when they introduce the helicarriers that can target you based on your DNA and shoot 100,000 individual people an hour anywhere on the planet, and each helicarrier had like 100 of those guns, and you didn't think, well now I know the final act of the movie is going to be blowing these up, I have to assume you were like 5 years old at the time, right? Like, you can't, as an adult, look at the genocide guns and fail to realize that they need to be gone by the end of the movie. And that isn't even in the top 10 reasons why that movie is terrible. Wow, I don't think I've ever gotten this derailed this early before, or even if I've ever had a take this hot since saying Earthrise sucked. I really should have been a movie reviewer. It's where all my best rants would be. Anyways, if that didn't scare you away, I'm trying to hit 10k subscribers by the channel's 2nd birthday on August 8th. If you enjoy this video by the end, and you can tolerate the stuff I just said, please consider subscribing. It's Jurassic Park, Tyrannicon Rex, and JP93. You guys have been after me for more crossover figures, so here you go. Starting off in alt modes this time, because honestly, these things displayed like this in their box is like half the reason to buy this right there. They look so sick like this, and this is absolutely how I choose to display this set. In the packaging, as close as possible to the way it came to me originally. And boy, those names are awful. Like damn, did it take you 3 whole seconds to come up with Tyrannicon Rex and JP93? You literally just added the word con to Tyranno, and then I can't tell if you abbreviated the movie and then just appended the year it came out to the end for JP93, or if you were doing a reference to the Jeep that was in the movie, but my god, neither are trying. There's not much to say about Tyrannicon, it's just the Megatron alt mode in brown with coloring that's supposed to make it look like the Jurassic Park T-Rex, but that thing was like gray with a tinge of green, not dirt brown. I suppose it's fortunate that the original mold based the head on the Jurassic Park design, so they didn't have to retool this at all. Wonder if that was planned. JP93 is way cooler by contrast, a ton more accurate to the source material than Tyrannicon, and it's not just a repaint of an existing mold. Honestly, I think this might be the first crossover figure to be a completely new mold. And I know that people say that Maverick was a new mold, but I've seen parts of that thing somewhere else before, for sure. This was early on theorized to be a Skids retool, which I would say makes sense for it, but now that the Legacy figure is out, I can say that for sure this is nothing like that. You may notice that mine is missing a headlight. Unfortunately, it snapped off in the packaging before I ever opened the box, which is a huge bummer, but oh well, I often fail to notice it. It does have what I think is a spare floodlight on that side anyways. It's really most pronounced when I feel that it's missing while handling the figure. It captures the design to a T for the most part. Really, the only weirdness is these yellow pegs pointing off the sides of the tires towards the back of the vehicle, and the fact that on one side, the Jurassic Park logo is kind of weirdly spaced in the middle because of the transformation hinge. It's a lot less noticeable from the other side, though. This is a stupid detail you shouldn't care about, but it's marked as car number 4, which in the movie is the one that gets destroyed by the T-Rex. But in the box, it's absolutely not the one getting wrecked. Like I said, you shouldn't care. It's just an interesting choice. So, the vehicle mode on JP93, god I hate saying that, it's so lame, is really good. If mine didn't have the broken light, it would be borderline perfect. There's a Jurassic Park official toy set of the scene that doesn't transform I've recently been seeing on shelves, and I think this actually looks better than that one. As for Tyrannicon, it's a great mold, absolutely fantastic. It may have the wrong color to be the specific dino we saw in the movie, but it's still one of the most posable T-Rex figures of all time. And the red peeking through many of the joints really helps this feel like the Jurassic Park toy, because for some reason those always have the dino gore gimmicks. Anyways, I've transformed the Megatron mold on video many times before, and honestly, it's a pain to do from behind a camera, so I'm not going to go into that this time. That's not to say that it's bad, it's just annoying to do at arm's length. This is easily the best transformation the Beast Wars Megatron has ever had. Jurassic Park 9-3, on the other hand, I have never done on camera before, and it's a lot of fun. It's easier than you'd think it's going to be, and it's got a weird amount in common with the 86 Jazz mold. Like so much so that I'd almost want to call this a heavy retool. There are a few differences, but really the main thing holding me back is that the elbows are on ball joints. All the other changes that they made, like the ankles, and this is the part that makes me question whether or not it's a retool. But yeah, this is pretty good. It's a fast little process, only made slightly concerning by the clear plastic, and the fact that the heels are made out of the stuff as well. Thin and on narrow pins to boot. If I had to take a guess as to what part of this figure is most fragile, I'm looking at these weird-ass heels. Then, the robot mode is a mixed bag. Tyrannicon Rex is literally just Megatron with a generic head and way, way less paint. I think the Beast mode had a lot of it, but they blew the entire budget on that state, because I don't think the Robot mode has 1mm of the stuff that isn't on the Alt mode. You could say the same for Jeep Nueve Tres, but like all of his paint from the Alt mode shows up in his Robot mode, so he's a lot more visually interesting. As for his general design, there is some weird stuff going on here. Like I can't tell if his head is tiny or his torso is chunky, but either way, it looks like he has a baby bean mounted on the plateau of his shoulders with biceps that scream steroids. Much like with the Jazz, a low angle shows you just how empty on the inside he is, but a straight on view also gives you a sliver of that. And then his legs are so long he looks like he's on stilts. They are clearly trying to hide it by coloring his legs like they're a pair of booty shorts, but it almost makes it worse. They look just as long as ever, and now with the way the shorts cut into his thighs, I can't help but imagine a package that's been tightly wrapped sitting in his trousers. And I just want to claw my eyes out thinking of that. The kibble is also very annoying with this bit popping up over his back. That's a degree or two uglier than it has any business being. I want to be clear that this isn't a bad design. There are flaws, but I do like the color layout for the most part. I think that the pitch black does work on the arms, though it's a bit of a strange choice, and car bumper chests are always a classic design for a Transformer. But the head here is very strange. I don't think the hat works at all. It clashes with the rest of the design, and what's it even supposed to be? Because it's not Grant's hat for sure, and it's not Muldoon's hat. It looks more like he's wearing a paper boat on his head than anything else. And the green cheek plates look like a serious case of Civil War mutton chops. This also probably has the worst case of light piping I have ever seen. Like even shoving this up the asshole of the brightest light I can find, barely anything happens. And I'm absolutely searing out my eyeballs trying to look at this because of all the light blasting around the head and not through the eyes. It's not the biggest tragedy since the eyes are supposed to look like sunglasses, so the fact that the light isn't pumping out of them is really the way that those are supposed to work. There's not much to say about Tyrannicon's head. It looks kind of like they took a Viacon from Prime and mixed it with G1 Starscream, plus they added some ornamentation around the chin. Maybe there's a bit of Samus Aran in there too. It's extraordinarily low on personality. At best, it kind of looks like a bad guy's helmet, but that's about all the character you'll get out of this. I think that the visor on this girl seems extremely low in the head. It's most of the way in the bottom third of her entire skull, so I don't know how they can see out of it. But every now and then, I think I see indents for the eyes in there, and I don't know why more Transformers visors don't do something like that. Or maybe any, as this could just be a trick of the light. Anyways, these are decent robot modes. Jupiter 3 obviously took a massive amount more effort than Tyrannicon, as they are an entirely new mold it seems, while Tyrannicon seems like whoever was given the job of designing her had no ideas whatsoever. They swapped the head with the most generic thing they could think of and changed the plastic colors while doing literally nothing else. Accessories aren't even good either. It really just comes with this shotgun-looking blaster, which is based on the shotgun from the movie, the Spaz 12, which is the coolest-looking shotgun of all time. But they've really done that sucker a disservice here because they've made it look more like a laser gun. And it doesn't have the fold-out stock, which is just sacrilege if you've seen the movie. Posability on both of these is pretty great, but once again, I'm not going over Tyrannicons. I've done it before. I will say in general, they feel better and more durable than the normal Megatron mold. So I'd say that later releases of the Megatron having their QC issues getting hammered out seems to be true. Though I would like to call your attention to an extreme head tilt up on this figure. JP93 on the other hand has a pretty average head with a little up and down and a swivel. Arms pull a little bit more than a 90 out to the side, elbows pull a fair bit more than a 90. Because of the way the ball joint for the elbow is located eccentrically, rotating the arm starts to look real weird real quick. Narcissa wrists, no waist, legs are unimpeded forward and to the side, but back just a little because of the way it's designed. Maximum knees. And ankles with a rocker and a maximum heel down. So, Tyrannicon, being a Megatron retool, is above average in a lot of ways, but not incredibly so. JP, however, has a lot more range in most joints than is typical, though it is brought down just a tad by his sass hands being a less useful type of joint, and the fact that he doesn't have a waist. And overall, what I can say about this set is that it's not worth the money. It just isn't. This is a decent new deluxe with a small handful of problems, and a huge downgrade on a really good leader figure that still winds up being good, but it's also not the equal of its previous versions except in durability, as well as a really cool box. However, even if I were to be insanely generous and tack on an extra $10 to the value of this set for the box, then this still would only be worth $80. And that's me being so incredibly nice. Yet this is $20 more than even that at retail. If you really want this, I'm not going to tell you that you need to avoid it, because what is here isn't bad, it's just really insultingly overpriced. It's cool, it's just also a grift. For this much, they should have included some blast effects at the very least, that's all I'm saying. Though, I don't know how many people are even taking these things out of the boxes. And before we go, I ran another contest on the community Discord where people tried to use figures to recreate scenes from the Transformers. Big props to the top 3 placements, 1998 Mitsubishi Lancer, Giaxis' most devout goblin, and ABDV12, who took the top spot, I think just for the meme of it. But I want to extend a sincere gratitude to everyone who participated. It was all awesome. Great work, and we are currently in the middle of another contest, and will be every 2 weeks for the foreseeable future. So if you feel like participating, stop on by. Links in the description. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.